All right, welcome in everybody. Hello, welcome to the player versus dev challenges here on the Play Temtem stream. My name's East, and I'm going to be your caster here today. For some of you, probably very, very early in the morning Wednesday. For some of you, maybe late at night on Tuesday. Welcome in. So we've got our 8th player versus dev challenge match. Oh, actually, sorry, I think this is the 9th one. It's going to be the player Peewee going up against the Yhrem dev QAlex, part of the QA team for Temtem. So should be a pretty exciting game. Just waiting for players to sort of get into the match, and then we'll be jumping right into the cast there. Hope you all have had a great week so far. I know these games have been a lot of fun for everybody involved, and I'm looking forward to getting to cast one of them myself. Normally I'm asleep when most of these games happen because I am on the west coast of North America. So always excited to get a game in here, although it is going to be pretty early for our friends at Crema. Hopefully they can shake off some of the sleepies and get ready for intense Temtem match. Not too much else to say. We're ready to kind of get into the game if both players are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find QAlex here. Oh, yep. Both players appear to be online. So we'll just wait for the match to get started, and then we'll jump in. I'm actually spectating on the Temtem Showdown client. For those of you who are watching, Temtem Showdown is free on Steam, and a great way to get in to start watching and playing PvP with Temtem. Really cool little tool for everybody to get involved. But now the game is on. Let's get in to, I believe we're doing a best of 3 here. So we have QAlex on the blue side, Peewee on the orange side here, and let's break down both teams. So QAlex running a very interesting core here. We do see lots of partners for the tag team trait on this Tatsu Tem, this second Tem that QAlex has. It makes both Temtem more resistant to damage if there are wind or melees next to Tatsu, and we can see, 2 winds and another 2 melee, so lots of synergies there. Some similar Tems across both teams. Both players are playing Tuveen, the Crystal Bird. That is a fairly popular choice in the metagame right now. Also, we see the OB10 or 2, as different casters pronounce it, getting banned out on Peewee's side, while the Tatsu banned out as well. So QAlex is going to lead off with Psypat. This Tem, great for increasing your HP TVs, but also a formidable sort of fast ninja attacker. Peewee going back with Acronox and Bracolum. These 2 Tems pretty good at forcing Psypat out with damage that will deal 2x to it. But QAlex has the counter pick here. They are on blue side, so they will get to pick a Tem that they feel is going to help them into both of these. And they go for the Gario. A bit of an interesting choice. Gario does take 4 times damage from the nature moves from Bracolum. However, it is protected at least on the first turn from its autonomy trait that's going to give it 1 free hit. We see the Tuveen getting banned out now. We'll see what QAlex is going to respond with. We see the double water Tem opener into the big nature melee Bracolum. That Bracolum looks like it's going to be a pretty tough test for QAlex to get through. And we'll see what Peewee is going to try to do with the Acronox next to it. Tulkin banned out on the other side. Tulkin, a very, very powerful Tem, has been seeing play for a very long time, and not surprised to see QAlex ban that out, as it is very strong against Saku, Bracolum, and Hazrat almost the entirety of the back line. Peewee's going to pick up Geronder and Volfi. These are Tems with very few weaknesses and good defensive type charts. And but QAlex does have access to 2 melee Tems, which may help them out in this situation. But we see Saku picked up instead. Saku, pretty good Tem into Volfi. Geronder not so much. And the Scaravolt actually is going to be the last Tem picked up here. So no Bracolum on QAlex's side. So instead we've got Valiar picked up last for Peewee. And let's get into the match. First game of our best of 3 of the player versus dev challenges. So, Autotomy going to be triggered up right away. So, that evasion status does mean that Gario is going to have a really difficult time taking damage here. But that move can be broken by pretty much any offensive technique. Would not be surprised to see Acronox try to break that Autotomy with Sting. And that means that the Plague from Broccolim will deal huge damage to the Gario if QAlex is unprepared for that maneuver. But let's see what they decide to do in response. The Bracolum looks very safe on Peewee's side of the board. As a nature melee Tem, it's very difficult for earth, water, or melee damage to hurt it. So unless this Psypad is packing some sneaky toxic attacks, it's going to be pretty hard for Bracolum to take damage. QAlex is going to retreat the Gario. It will leave the game here. Hazrat coming in. Not the best matchup into Acronox, but will do a great job of resisting these moves. We see Schween's Horn Venomous Claws going into the Broccolum. That's, unfortunately for QAlex, means that it's going to deal water damage instead of toxic damage, and that's not going to do very much to Broccolum. The Soil Steam covering as well. Maybe covering the swap there. Psypat takes huge damage, and you got to think early advantage to Broccolum. Maybe QAlex getting caught misunderstanding the Schween's Horn there as it turned that toxic technique into a water one and really just made the Broccolum quite tanky against it. And the camouflage trait giving it evasion as well, so Broccolum and Gario both looking pretty evasive. However, now that it's turn 2 and one hold is up, Psypat has access to Nicho Sai, which is a pretty powerful melee attack, and it will throw this out. This is bad news for Acronox. It's going to be taking a ton of damage from this attack. With Shinobi Tactics boosting that damage, it's actually quite effective. Hazrat goes for the Synergy Lava Wave. That'll pop the evasion. Bracolum's Plague is going to be more than enough to take out Psypat. Soil Steam coming in from Acronox. This is another 2x into the Hazrat. Oh, but not quite enough to bring it down. So, a bit of a dire first couple of turns for QAlex as they're taking heavy damage here, but certainly not out of the game yet. They do have this Volfi and Bracolum combo that's going to be very difficult for their team to deal with. A lot of work expected here from Saku, who will come into the match. It's definitely going to need to finish off this Acronox at first, but there's going to be some pretty tricky maneuvering having to be done from both players here, as Volfi and Acronox have the Earth moves to threaten Scaravolt, which is 4x weak to Earth, and Bracolum and Volfi having the nature moves, which are 2x into the Gario. Peewee's going to swap out the Acronox. This is a smart play, just preserving it for a future turn. No rush to take extra from the wind moves. It's going to be a double swap, actually. We see Bracolum leaving as well. Geronder coming in. This will definitely mess up QAlex's targeting if they just went for super effective moves. Yeah, the Geronder will take much less damage from Lava Wave. Pretty smart play there. Saku goes for the Boomerang, and again, Volfi much more resilient against that than Acronox would have been. So, a couple, quick KOs that could have been picked up by QAlex, thwarted by the quick swaps coming in from Peewee. So smart positioning from them, and now QAlex has to figure out a way to sort of press the advantage here. Being able to take out this Volfi would go a long way to helping Scaravolt assert some more dominance into this game. Right now, definitely an advantage for Peewee, but these games can turn around very quickly, so we'll see what the players decide to do to sort of leverage these different benefits here, these different opportunities coming through here in game number 1. We're on the start of turn 4. Psypat down. Hazrat looking a little worse for wear, but a lot of Hazrats are carrying Toxic Farewell, a trait that kind of turns them into a bit of an offensive bomb when they go down. So Peewee will want to be sure to use a Toxic Tem to get that KO. Thankfully for them, they have 2 in the Crocodilo and the Spiderino. Is Acronox a spider or a scorpion? Alright, Volphy goes for the quick Sludge Gift. It's going to go ahead and take down the Hazrat, so it will take the full brunt of Toxic Farewell. The Rat Bomb is in play. Gyarander, Wastewater, big 2x into the Saku. It's going to take a hefty amount of damage there. It goes for a Narcoleptic hit back the other way into the Volphy. Energy Drink will stop it from taking the Sleep as a punishment. And one more Toxic Tick will be all it takes for QAlex to get their first knockdown of this match. Gario coming back in. This is definitely not a spot that Gario really wants to be in. It's lined up to take 4 times damage from Plague, and not really a lot that Saku can do to support it in this case. Maybe just trying to do some sort of fake out play, bring in the Gario, swap in the Scarabolt to take the nature move. Let's see what Peewee decides to do, if there's any sort of read here. If QAlex is going to make that sort of quick swap out play, try and rob the Volphy of its presence here. No, everybody stays in, and Peewee just goes for the bush. This is going to actually preserve the Volphy. It won't go down so easily. Boomerang goes into Gyarander, but with thick skin, it's essentially resisting that, and the Wastewater is going to go ahead and polish off Saku, so Volphy manages to stay and live to fight another day. However, Gyarander might not be so lucky. Gravel Bag turning that special attack into offensive magic for the Gario, and it's going to score the KO on Gyarander. Unfortunately for QAlex, this Volphy managed to survive the turn, and thanks to that bush, Scarabolt and Gario are threatened by 4 times damage attacks from the Tems on the Peewee side of the board. Acronox's Soil Steam will strike true into Scara, and Plague will strike true into Gario. Let's get the turn to play out here. Let's see if either of these Tems can live this sort of ferocious assault coming in here. Scarabolt's going to have to do a lot of work to get back into the game here. It seems unlikely, but if they can survive these attacks, as unlikely as that is pretty much their only way back into the game here. Plague onto the Gario. It lives just by 1 HP. Definitely calculated. Soil Steam into Scarabolt. It will not be so lucky. Down it goes. Which means Gario gets to get 1 attack off here. It'll be a Rock Fall. Volphy dodging that with Team Elusive. And the first aid kit, good information for QAlex for future games here. Nut Bar Volphy, Bait Gyarander, first aid kit on the Acronox. All of these gear information is good for both players to know heading into game number 2. As we're going to pretty well wrap this up. Just about anything is going to take out the Gary. Sludge Gift revealed on the Volphy, and down goes Gario. So, game number 1, pretty handedly won by Peewee. I think if QAlex were to review the tape and try something a little bit different, we might see them maybe try not to go for the Schweenshorn move onto the brick one there. Maybe forgetting about that effect that the gear would have, or perhaps predicting some sort of swap out or switch play. It's hard to say. Now, in the second game of our series, QAlex is going to get to choose the blue or orange side. Looks like they've chosen blue side again. So if Peewee wins this one, that'll be the end of our Player vs. Dev Challenge 9. Well, we see 2 new teams coming in for both players. A very interesting sort of bulky team coming from QAlex here. We do see the Yowler, the Osakai, Molgu, Nidrasil. These Tems are very bulky indeed, and they've got some things to help them out. Lots of weaknesses to Mental on their side, but also Xenareth and Minotaur, a preferred combo for many players to take down Mental Tems, myself included. Actually, this is one of my favorite 2-Tem combos right now for dealing with Mentals. We see the Tatsu band out. Story's the same there. Nidrasil, a very powerful sort of cleric and self-healing Tem for the allies with side spores. Also can get bark shields down, apply toxic ticks, cooperation. Generally a pretty nasty Tem to play against. As we see Mashuk getting led off here, this is almost certainly some sort of perfect jab opener. Mashuk's perfect jab sort of allows its allies to scale their offensive damage by lowering the opponent's defensive, effective HP by dropping their defenses. Peewee's going to go ahead and fire back with Talwin and Valiar. This is a pretty interesting team from Peewee we haven't talked too much about. Both Talwin and Mawala have the Hypnotist ability, which is going to put a Tem to sleep. Puts all Tems to sleep that are not, of course, mental, which cannot be slept. This plan backfires just a little bit, though, as it's very clear that Minotaur will not be going to sleep. It's also quite a powerful option into both Talwin and Valiar. QAlex is going to leave both crystal options open for Peewee, though, so plenty of swaps available on turn 1 here. On the other hand, we will see Molgu banned out as well. That would be another Tem that can't exactly be put to sleep. Yowler coming in. This is interesting. Double mental opener, and another mental being picked up by Peewee, but QAlex going for the big bear all the same. Maybe this is just a defensive swap to take the crystal attack. We do see Osakai get picked up. This is another Tem that's very weak to mentals, so these backline shenanigans could backfire for QAlex. But Zenoreth, very powerful into triple mental, of course, and it's going to be pretty good into Inky if that's picked up, so that won't get picked up. Actually, now this backline looking a little bit more reasonable for the Minotaur. See how the game progresses as we get into game number 2. So we will see Rusher being activated by Minotaur. This is going to give Minotaur 1 speed stage every time an enemy Tem hits the board. Including right now, that means this is a very, very fast Minotaur. Fat Burner being activated. The gear that will make Talwin a little bit faster, but one of these Tems has to get out of dodge. It's probably not going to be the Valiar. Effective Denial is a very good defensive trait that can help Valiar in situations like this, going up against Minotaur. Minotaur also lacks a very strong turn 1 electric move, and Yowler swaps in to give it synergy on Sparkling Bullet. We'll see if that's the case. Well, there's lots of good swap-ins for Yowler as well. All in all, 3 Tems that are weak to 3 Tems here, so Minotaur and Zenoreth are going to have to do a lot of work for Peewee in this game, but they're really well positioned to do so. So Talwin does leave. Valash going to be coming in to take its place. That is going to pump up the speed on Minotaur a little bit. We do see Mashuk leave as well. Yowler comes in, so it will be Synergy Sparkling Bullet. Which way is it going? It is going to hit the Valiar instead. So, not bad. Minotaur's Taser going to activate as well, reducing the damage further taken from that telekinetic shrapnel. Not a bad turn at all, and this is where the game gets very complicated. If Yowler is packing Oshidashi, or even just Savage Suplex, it can deal a lot of damage to Valash. And this Valash is the last Tem left alive that doesn't take a ton of damage from Minotaur. So, Peewee's got to be a little bit careful. On the other hand, if Valash can score Crystal Spikes onto Minotaur, Minotaur's done. So QAlex is heavily incentivized to swap Minotaur, which means if that's read by Peewee, they're heavily incentivized to swap out Valash. But if Valash leaves and Minotaur stays, the backline for Peewee takes humongous damage from Minotaur, so much that they probably won't be able to recover. Both players kind of need to weigh what they think is the correct play for them to make, and go for it. So we'll see what they decide to do. Very, very interesting turn here. We see the Rusher activate as Minotaur leaves. It'll lose 2 of those speed stages. Zenoreth comes in an interesting compromise. Another 10 that can beat the mentals in case there's a swap out. Valiar goes for Hypnosis onto Yowler. And Valash goes for Major Slash. This is a physical Valash covering that swap option. Not bad at all. Jack of all trades is going to activate, powering up the Valash a little bit here. Yowler takes a turn of sleep. This is probably an ideal board for Yowler to be on, if not for the sleep. Valiar's not exactly the best Tem at dealing damage, and Valash, of course, is threatened by Yowler's physical attacks. Zenoreth goes for the Sharp Stabs. The Valash not getting targeted here is pretty nice. Valiar's going to go ahead and bamboozle itself. Crystal Bite coming out as well. Zenoreth not taking that much damage, though. Jack of all trades powering up that special attack again. So now Crystal Spikes can hit for +2 special attack. Not bad. Valiar's Refreshing Diabolo going to go ahead and give Valash some of its stamina back, but no HP. which is very nice for QAlex that he isn't exposed to that extra damage. We saw Sharp Stabs come out from the Xenareth, so I suppose it is a physical Xenareth, which is definitely not at all that common. Xenareth, of course, with Channeler, a trait that makes it very powerful when attacking on that special attack side. Crystal Spike's not quite enough to take it down. Yowler goes for Ice Cubes, which is going to break the Bamboozle. Mineral Hail fighting back the other way is going to score a huge KO. Down goes the Valiar. Ice Cubes, very uncommon on Yowler as well, but it is a move that allows Yowler to go before Xenareth. The KO would not be possible without that, so QAlex may be cooking a little bit as Talwin reappears. Hypnosis, of course, Hypnotist has been triggered already, so it won't activate again. This Xenareth going down would be big news for Peewee, although they have to be very careful that this Valash doesn't take too much damage here. It's scaling up its damage, it's dealing a lot, but it has to watch out for maybe accidentally triggering a Wrecked Farewell Bomb from the physical Xenareth. Or taking huge damage from the Yowler as well, as Ice Cubes will, I mean, it probably isn't running Oshidashi, but there's always a possibility. And Peewee, I think quite wisely, is going to go ahead and swap in. Oh, it's going to be Mawala instead, so there's the Hypnotist. Going to go ahead and put both Tems to sleep. Talwin will finish off Xenareth in the process. It is going to get Wrecked Farewelled, which means it really won't be dealing very much damage at all with Fat Burner as well. Yowler is back awake, and this seems like a pretty good board for Minotaur. And that is what we are going to see. At this point, Minotaur does have an extra turn if it wants to use Beef Up or something like that to increase its damage further. Obviously, Peewee really wants to get Valash back in here to deal with this Minotaur, but they are going to have to make a swap, or maybe they'll just let one of their Tems go. It's hard to say. I have to imagine QAlex understands that Talwin is really not to be attacked here. And it's going to be the Talwin making a swap out for the Valash. Maybe trying to do that so Peewee wouldn't get hit. Let's see if QAlex takes that. Transient Echo coming out from Mawala. Oh, look at that damage into Yowler. Huge damage. On the other side, Minotaur going to use that Sparkling Bullet. Big damage into Mawala. And what did the Yowler do? Yowler goes for Toughen, which is a interesting choice. It is going to make it very difficult for Transient Echo to finish stuff off. So that Yowler, relatively safe. Although, QAlex has to be careful now. Valash can threaten Minotaur with big damage. They have to deal damage to Valash at some point in this game. Although if Mawala goes down here to Minotaur, may not necessarily be so important. Minotaur will swap out, however. We're going to see Osakai come in for QAlex. And it's going to take the Crystal Spikes. +2, not too bad, but Osakai can absolutely take that damage. Snare actually going to take the resistance badge away. And Haito Uchi will put Yowler to sleep. A lot of sleep control coming out from Peewee's team. Talwin now looking like a pretty nice swap in. Yowler is a bit of a ticking time bomb of its own, though. It does have Winter Call, which is a very powerful high hold technique that can freeze both opponents. And that should open Yowler up to deal some damage. So the best defense against that, of course, is for Peewee to get both mentals in play. So Valash will leave the game. It's actually going to be Pig hitting the board instead. Pig Epic, very good Tem at applying defensive buffs. Unfortunately, Transient Echo not going to cut it for Mawala this time, as the Toughen helps things out defensively. Rockfall going to go ahead and finish off Mawala. Yowler, Savage Suplex as well. So, Toughen, Suplex, Ice Cubes. What is the last move on this Yowler? Very interesting combination of moves. Talwin coming in to continuously apply these mental moves for pressure, but we're almost at a point where all the mentals are dealt with. The nut bar on the pig being exposed as well. With Tally at -2 attack and special attack, it's actually looking quite nice for both Osakai and Mashuk. The mental threat is mostly suppressed at this point, and that could be the key for QAlex to return this game into their favor completely. The +4 defense Yowler, unfortunately a bit of a sitting duck right now. Even for a -2 special attack Fat Burner Tally, should have no problem KOing that with Beta Burst. But once again, the Minotaur is in the back, and so is the Valash, so whichever person can kind of get that Tem in play could be looking at a pretty strong advantage here, as the late game appears to crystallize and take shape. It's going to be Osakai leaving for Minotaur, so QAlex content to take a little damage just to get Minotaur onto the board here. And that's not very much at all, to be honest. Ice cubes coming out from the Yowler. A little bit of chip onto the pig. Pig going for Stonewall onto Tally. A bit of a admittedly strange maneuver. Tally, of course, not a lot of super strong late game scalability. It could be maybe a Zen. I don't even think it learns Zen. I don't know. Something's got to get bulked up, and maybe the Tally trying to go for some sort of attrition play. Getting bulked up, pretty nice move defensively. However, it is staring down a lot of very powerful damage, and can even get its boosts and stat stage changes wiped away by a synergy on Black Hole, and it's going to go for Intimidation instead. Just try to play the stamina game a little bit here. Get some evasion. Pig going for Divine Inspiration, just trying to beef things up a little bit. It's going to go ahead and heal a little bit and increase that special defense as well. Minotaur goes the other way with Sparkling Bullet. Pig taking a pretty sizable chunk of damage there, and the Savage Suplex will go ahead and finish it off. So, turns out that was Friendship Pig, but the Yowler, doesn't quite go down. A bit of a turn opening up here for Peewee. Valash hits the board. Minotaur is going to get that speed boost from Rusher once more. It is going to start to go into the negative speeds, though. Tally at -2 special attack really wants to be able to contribute, but it's going to have a hard time breaking through even Mashuk and Osakai. So QAlex may simply be content to go for just a little bit of chip onto the Tally, maybe a final Piezoelectric Blow or a hasty lunge of some kind, or maybe just some chip damage onto Valash. Once Valash goes down, this game is pretty much salted away. Instead, we're going to see QAlex swap Yowler out for Osakai. This is a synergy Black Hole play, trying to get that outspeed. Oh, but the Tally with a little bit more speed gets the turbo choreography off, and now the Valash is very dangerous. It outspeeds, but it goes for base jump, anticipating some sort of swap, maybe being made by the Minotaur. But the Minotaur doesn't actually go for Black Hole, it goes for Sparkling Bullet. So really interesting turnaround there, as just the chip damage into Tally, look, even through the Stonewall, look how much damage that dealt. Tally, of course, now overexerted, is primed to get taken down here. And then it's just Valash sizing up an Osakai. Look at the bonuses on Valash, though. It's actually quite strong. The Crystal Bite is going to chew right through that Minotaur. Jack of all trades starting to build up that special attack for Valash. Osakai is going to fire back with Wrenching Massage from a high base attack set. Not quite enough to go down, but Valash now can't attack without overexerting itself to death. Well, to knock out. Nobody dies here. It's Temtem. Yowler comes in. Osakai looking like it's got an opening to get 2 KOs here with Rockfall. It could be put to sleep, however. This would sort of delay the inevitable a little bit. But it looks like Peewee just doesn't have the Tems to keep going. The Hypnotist strat looking strong at first, but this natural bulk and board positioning from QAlex making it look like it's in a little bit better spot. Tally goes for the Wake Up, but the Wrecked Farewell stopping it from getting much done at all there. Major Slash isn't going to bring down Osakai either, and Valash overexerts itself all the way down. Yowler Yeah, I don't think I've seen Ice Cube's Yowler in some time, but there it is. And it's going to pick up the W here today. Peewee goes down, and now we got a game 3. So we will see a series-deciding game here between Peewee and QAlex. Very exciting stuff. Alright, let's get into the match. So it looks like they're both saying the same color, so Peewee is going to go ahead and take the orange side again. And it will be... Oh, okay, so we see QAlex sticking with the same team from Game 2. Peewee going to the team from Game number 1. And we see the Valiar banned out. Or maybe it's a slightly different team? Well, it looks like the same group. I might be wrong, however. The Valiar gets banned out, and QAlex going back to very much the same team from game number 2. We see the Yowler banned out as well, now that Valiar is taken off the board. QAlex is hovering the Mushuk. This is a relatively dangerous pick with 2 birds in play. But the Osakai looking kind of good. Again, the biggest problem... Oh no, we see... Instead it's going to be Minotaur. The bull picked up. Bit of a bold play right in front of both Acronox... Right in front of Acronox, Volphy, and Tuveen. All these pretty strong options for Peewee. We see Acronox Tuveen almost immediately picked up. That's very interesting, because it does sort of open things up for Osakai a little bit if QAlex wants to go that route. Osakai looking pretty good here. Yeah, we will see it get picked up. Almost certainly the Minotaur must leave, so looking for something that does well into Crystal and Earth in the backline here, but it doesn't actually look like QAlex has that many great swap-ins. Their second ban, Bracolum looks like a pretty good ban. Although there is a digital and a mental. Yeah, hard to say. The Volphy looks pretty solid as well. Yeah, you can see that QAlex is kind of debating between those two options. Volphy being hovered, Volphy will be banned. So knowing that this is physical Xenareth does some interesting things. The physical Xenareth, as opposed to the special Xenareth, actually has a better matchup into Garander, which is kind of weird. Garander, much better special defense than defense. Means that it is a little bit more vulnerable to things like Crystal Bite and Mineral Hail. And so we don't see that picked up right away from Peewee. Instead, it's going to be the 2 and the Tolkien. These two Tems looking like they can combine for a pretty nice special attack onslaught. We're going to see Molgu picked up, and the decision now between Kinu and Xenareth. Something's got to come in to take Soil Steam, Crystal Plume, Gatling on turn 1. And I would imagine that Molgu is probably the target. And it's between Bracolum and Garander here for Peewee. Bit of a different looking game for them, even than game number 1, where they really were able to just kind of camp Bracolum on the board. We'll see Bracolum picked up towards the end here. So, game number 3, the decisive game of our Player versus Dev Challenge number 9. Acronox and Tuveen on the opener for Peewee. Minotaur Osakai on the other side for QAlex. So this is probably one of the easiest Minotaur swaps I think I've ever seen in my life. This thing has got to get out of here or it's pretty much cooked. Now, that means that Peewee definitely knows a swap's coming. Which means that QAlex can, go for that next level Galaxy Brain read and say, you know what? You're going to target my Osakai. I'm going to stay in on Minnow and get a quick Sparkling Bullet off into your Tuveen or something like that. It seems extremely risky and not at all that likely to pay off. If QAlex was paying attention, he'd know that the Tuveen's not bait, so it would get burned. And that might be worth it. But no, we do see the Rusher proc come out. I would imagine this is Molgu. That's going to be Zenareth instead. So this thing will take quite a bit from Soil Steam. But maybe that's the plan. No, Peewee actually swaps out as well. Super interesting. We see them go for Broccolem. And the Crystal Plume Gatling comes out into Zenareth. Now, if this Tuveen takes the Massage, no, it was aimed for the Acronox. And so, good swap from Peewee. Broccolem going to go ahead and pick up Camouflage. And have a pretty nice board. It threatens both of these Temps. But for QAlex, it might be a little bit too far behind the 8-ball to consider a swap right now. It might be time to start swinging. But maybe that isn't going to be enough. It's hard to tell. Zenareth is probably the least valuable Tem in terms of the things it can check and the work that it can do in this game. It and Minotaur as well, a bit checked in this game. Although if Minnow can get Black Hole activated, it'll definitely do a lot better. So, bit of a board positioning battle here. Minnow also QAlex's best check for Tulkin by far. But so far, it's advantage Peewee. They've got the Broccolem in. It's set up nice and tanky-wise. It's got an evasion proc to protect it. And we'll see if QAlex has any options for dealing with it here. Osakai's going to leave. Mashuk coming in front of a Wind is very dangerous. Let's see how it does. And Sharp Stabs coming out from the Zenareth. And it's just going to go right back at it. And that means that a well-placed move should do it. But no, the melee move doesn't land on Zenareth. Instead, Mashuk just gets trapped in. Double screen activated by Mashuk. We can see it is pretty tanky, actually. Not taking very much. A resisted hit with a double screen. It's really tough to bring down. Double screen active on it. Zenareth is looking a little bit worse for wear. Probably enough to go down to an Inner Spirit from this Broccolem. That could be tactical on QAlex's part. Wrecked Farewell onto the Broccolem will severely hamper it for the rest of the game. And Zenareth not that valuable into everything else. Pretty good into the 2, but that's about it. Meanwhile, this Mashuk, locked in as it is, does have a Wastewater lined up with Broccolem's name on it. Or it could use a melee move like an Uppercut to hit the Tuveen. It's got to be careful not to go for Perfect Jab, as that probably won't work. Zenareth is going to leave the game here, and it's Molgu coming in. Defensive pivots of digital Tems are always very risky. Let's see if this pans out. Peewee is going to swap out Broccolem, so it looks like that problem is at least successfully dodged for now. Tulkin comes in. It will take the Wastewater and aimed for Broccolem, but without Heater to reduce the damage by burning Tems, it's going to take quite a bit. Mashuk does get rocked pretty hard, actually, by the Feather Gatling there. And that does set up a double Wind move option into QAlex's board. However, if Peewee's smart, he probably wants to cover some swap options here, as Minotaur could easily swap into double Wind move, and Tuveen is running out of stamina to make things happen here. So we'll see what the Tamers decide to do. Mashuk is likely down to Tornado or Turbine, but the Molgu is positioned decently well to do some work here. Of course, it won't have the Toxic Synergy for Faraday Cage, but at this point, Turbo Attack is up. And Peewee's actually going to retreat. Tuveen's going to swap out for Acronox here. Tulkin goes for Tornado, and QAlex just kind of lets it happen. That's definitely going to bring down Mashuk. On the other side, Cyberclaw coming out from Molgu. Pretty decent damage into Tulkin. That means Tulkin will go down. But a nice swap there to preserve the stamina. Osakai comes in. We see Broccolem can be positioned well into a Wrenching Massage again here. But this Tulkin does have Fire Tornado active, so it's not the greatest time to be a Molgu at the moment. No good swap-ins for that either. Minotaur doesn't like taking heavy fire damage, and Zenareth would, of course, straight up combust. Let's see what the Tamers decide to do. Broccolem could be tagged by digital move if it tries to come in for Acronox here, so it might be worth it for Peewee to simply stay in and attack with the Acronox. We'll see. Tolkien does go for the Fiery Soul. That is going to target Molgu. It is Sentinel and not Splitter, so it will get burned. And with that burn in play, why not just stay in? This does exactly that. Molgu, pretty tanky. Going to go ahead and sponge up a lot of that damage. Rockfall's not quite enough for Tolkien, but Digi-Threat will bring it down. A bit of an interesting choice there. Potential Doom option later in the game if that can come off of hold. With Tolkien down, that normally would open things up for Xenareth, but Xenareth's still pretty low HP and threatened by both Broccolem and Acronox, as QAlex starting to kind of run out of gas here. 2 is coming in. It's a bit of an interesting swap, actually, as this Hem is definitely threatened by both Osakai and Molgu. I do like the double Fake Beard due to the Source Replicator, though. That is going to mean that Acronox can stay in the game for quite a bit longer. And a Plasma Beam actually looks pretty good into both these targets. Plasma Beam targeting Molgu or Osakai will definitely deal a ton of damage and also reduce their offensive output, which is kind of the weakness of these like bigger, bulkier teams, Tems like Osakai, Molgu, and Xenareth, is if they can get their damage percentages, worn down with minus attack or burns or even defensive buffs on the team, it can be very hard for them to break through. And that's sort of what we're seeing Peewee do here. They're kind of spamming burn a little bit with Tolkien, and now 2 has the opportunity to do that with Plasma Beam, if it so chooses. So we do see the Plasma Beam. It's into Molgu, which is interesting. So Molgu fires back with Cyber Claw, solid damage. We see the Soil Steam. It is a double, so going for the KO on Molgu. But that could be costly depending on what we see here from Osakai. It's going to be Wrenching Massage. Oh, that's big damage onto Acronox. Oh, but not quite enough to bring it down. So now one of his Xenareth or Minotaur is going to have to take the powered up Earth move. Let's see what the decision is. Probably want to hank onto Minotaur so you have a way of dealing with Broccolem later, but Tuveen looks like it's going to be a bit problematic for that plan. Osakai, after the Wrenching Massage, sort of running out of stamina a little bit. It needs a more efficient way to attack. Xenareth looks like a very nice pick-off here for Peewee if they can get it. Yeah, and likely no hook on the Osakai side. We saw Wrenching Massage, we saw Rockfall. I wonder what the other moves are. Peewee's actually going to retreat the 2, not press the air advantage, try to get Broccolem in here. This is a defensive pivot that could be costly. Acronox manages to hang on. It's going to go for the KO with Soil Steam. And it outspeeds... Oh no, it didn't outspeed Mineral Hail, so Osakai will get an attack as well. And it is the uppercut that will finish off Acronox, but that Acronox can say mission accomplished for sure here. Broccolem came in and took some chip damage, but it's more than enough. All that Peewee needs to do is get the kill here onto the Minotaur, and then it is GG. As there's no way that Osakai has enough gas in the tank at this point. But QAlex can go for the burn onto Tuveen. That may help preserve the Minotaur's life. Unsure if that'll be enough. Osakai's also going to have to commit an attack here. It just seems very unlikely that Tuveen doesn't score the KO on a Minotaur this turn. See what happens. Minotaur goes for a Thunder Strike. Interesting. Tuveen takes a little bit of damage there. It's going to go ahead and fire back with Crystal Plume Gatling, and that'll be it for Minotaur. No Taser Burn on special attacks. And Broccolem firing back with Resin Trap. That's going to go ahead and bomb into the Osakai. That's big damage. Osakai comes back with Wrenching Massage. This probably isn't enough for Tuveen. No, and the overexertion means that all is over but the crying. Peewee's going to go ahead and take this 2-1 the congratulations come out. We see 2 swap in. Beard Nup and the Plague from Brooklyn will finish things off. So, that's going to be it. GG's to both players. Congratulations to Peewee, who takes the set 2-1. Some very interesting move selection choices. Some very interesting games played there. And thank you so much for watching. It looks like our next game is coming up on the 5th of September. You can catch it at 6 a.m. UTC. Zolrain is going to be going up against the competitive team rep, the mysterious hat-wearing comp chat messenger of the future. Looking forward to that one. But for now, and for all of us here at Play Temtem, my name's East, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.